would like to now introduce Jack Hogan, the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Mash Gin, who is powering this session. So over to you, Jack.
Thank you. Hey, everyone, I'm Jack Hogan. Let me just share my screen quickly. Are we good, David?
All good there. Just speak up a little bit there, Jack.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Yes, so as he said, my name's Jack. I run the sales team over here at Mashgin. So I guess welcome to my TED Talk. I know no one came to this conference to hear from a sponsor, but don't worry, they only gave me 8 minutes, and I'll probably try to get it done quicker than that. It's kind of like watching two last place teams play during week 17 in a snowstorm. So let's make it quick. 3 main takeaways. All right, Mashgin cuts concession lines in half. We're deployed across dozens of stadiums around the country. Shorter lines means more revenue. We've shown multiple case studies showing that we do 34 to 40% revenue lifts in the exact same square footage. And then, as everyone knows, we're living in the middle of trying times. It's a dang pandemic. So everyone wants touchless checkout. It just so happens that our machine using computer vision is able to offer touchless checkout. All right, how is our name pronounced? Everyone messes this up. So it's Mash Gin, like a gin and tonic, which I will have in approximately 7 minutes and 15 seconds. All right. So why are we awesome? We are the world's fastest self-checkout without a doubt. You can check out with multiple items in under half a second. We're 4 times faster than any legacy point of sale as well. We grew up in the cafeteria space. So we are really, really experienced at dealing with large rushes of people, right? Everyone wants to eat their lunch between 11:30 and 1. So we built this machine to knock that out. Proven ROI, you see the numbers there. And we are a truly touchless experience. Again, computer vision, no one needs to touch anything except for me, the person who's going to eat it. Where are we located? Palo Alto, California. Yeah, just down the street from my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. So who uses us, right? Aramark, Compass, your big food service brands. We recently helped the Kansas City Chiefs launch their new season safely. I was there for opening day. We decked out their stadium with touchless checkout machines. The Denver Broncos also have a huge installation. You can go online and review some case studies on that install. All right, so enough about it. What's the dang thing look like? So here we are. This is our machine here at Yankee Stadium. Okay. Here's one of our installations at Mile High. So one of the reasons that Mashgin is so successful is because stadiums have started to move towards more of a grab and go concept, right? This is much faster than where you belly up to the bar, you order a beer, someone drafts that beer, walks it over to a person, and then that person hands you the beer and checks you out. It seems like things are picking up a little bit with this grab and go concept. And this is one of the concepts specifically where we got 35, 40% more revenue, exact same space. Here's another shot of that same vicinity. Here's a really awesome beer cooler that they built. And here we are with another large checkout system. So we're also in other types of stadiums, not just football. This is Capital One Arena. Here is the concept that we've worked together with the Chiefs to put out. And here's a really cool one that we built with the Mets at Citi Field. So cool thing about this was just an empty patch of concrete, right? We turned that empty patch of concrete into a beer stand that produces 40% more revenue with 1/2 of the people working. Cool thing with Clear, right? If you fly a lot, you can just use your thumbprint to check out here. It also functions as an ID check. So yes, did I just mention ID check? Of course. That's what all of you folks are raising your hand saying, how are you allowed to sell alcohol to self-checkout? Well, we've solved that problem operationally. So you remember the belly up to the bar that I described to you with 8 people working behind it? The Mashgin system only requires 2 or 3, right? You have 2 people at the front of a gated area checking IDs, let people flow in through the grab and go. 1 person stationed at the end. Their job is to basically lifeguard, answer any questions. But in reality, in practice, the person at the end job is to stock more beer because you are selling beer so quickly. All right, so that is the extremely boring part of the presentation. Let's look at some cool stuff. All right. Can everyone see my face? Jim, anybody?
Yeah, you're the good.
Fantastic. Okay, so here is the Mashgin machine right behind me. How does it work? We were about to show you. In the upper left-hand corner, you should see my head. Hi. Down here, right, you see my hand wave across the screen. So to make this little digital magic happen, we just jiggered one of the cameras to show what goes on the base. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see your normal UI screen. So let's do my normal stadium order, which is a hot dog and as much beer as I can carry, or the stadium will let me check out with, which is always 2. And then we'll come over here, hit this with Apple Pay. So as you can see, that was a completely touchless transaction, and it took place in about 15 seconds. So now I take my stuff and I get back to my seat. I don't miss anything in the game. Maybe you miss one play if you're at a football stadium. So how does it work? Well, we built this system out, as we mentioned, for the cafe space, which means we designed it for things without barcodes. So we're actually kind of moving backward when we go to stadiums because most items are packaged beer. But we can also recognize things like chicken nuggets. We can even do open plates of food, right? Some of the key questions we get from stadiums: can you do my meal deals? Yes, of course we can do meal deals. So there's your hot dog and your Pepsi meal deal. Same thing, completely done with computer vision. No need for barcodes. No need for any of that. You don't need another human there breathing on the people as well. Last thing that we're seeing in the stadium trends is conversion to, I don't know, these things we call clamshells. So here's a clamshell, right? This is often used in stadiums to basically package food. We're not an X-ray machine, but we can see what's inside using that little sticker on top. All right. Unfortunately, that concludes the awesome demo. We will have this available in our booth, which you can find us at later. Let me just come back here and show you a few more quick facts about us. So shorter lines, that's kind of obvious. That's how we drive 34% more revenue, and we make it so that people want to consistently come back and buy more beer. We're also integrated with all your loyalty solutions, or will integrate with them, GiveX, Lava, VenueNext, all of that stuff. We're open to working with all of them, and we have most of them already set up on the platform. So faster checkout, right? That's a simple one. But the key piece here is not only are we keeping fans safe, we're going to keep your employees safe. So less need to bring in all of this agency labor and more efficient use of the staff you already have. So the last thing here, happier fans. 80% of people prefer Mashgin over traditional checkout. So this data comes from both stadiums and convenience stores. So there was one thing recently that actually we got everyone in America to agree on. 100% of people say that Mashgin is faster than a traditional checkout. And then 99% say it's easy to use. That 1% was actually my grandmother. So we're trying to skill her up and make it so that she gets over the line to make it 100% say easy to use. Again, don't take my word for it. Go look us up. We're all over the web. We're in Forbes and all that good stuff. So without further ado, come visit us at our booth, and we will turn it over to the rest of these good folks who are talking about all of the innovative things that they have coming down the pipe. David and Lou, I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Jack. You successfully succeeded in making us all very thirsty. Please visit the Mashgin booth in the exhibition area today and tomorrow. You can set up meetings and chat with Jack and his friends at Mashgin over at their booth. Okay, now so we're going to hear from a panel of very influential and distinguished speakers who are executive leaders in the international sports and entertainment industry. A slight change to the panel. Tryson John, who's head of marketing and strategy, replaces Joe Lewis. He's from the Joe Lewis Company. Jim Mercurio, the executive vice president and general manager of Levi Stadium, and David Eads, the executive director and CEO of the Pasadena Tournament of Roses. Welcome to all of you, and I hope I got those pronunciations correct. We're starting to look beyond the COVID-19 pandemic and into the future. As we continue our journey, our panelists will explore disruption is a time for innovation and reinvention case studies. The panelists will discuss innovation in the period of disruption for the sports and entertainment industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. As Jack Logan showed us, the disruption we are enduring right now is full of opportunity for those who innovate. Let me turn to our panelists and let them introduce themselves and explain what they are doing to innovate their way through the restrictions on mass gathering events to deliver for fans and continue business operations. Let's kick things off with Jim.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jim McCurry. I'm the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Levi Stadium. Appreciate you joining us today. As this ever-changing kind of experience or this roller coaster, maybe perhaps is better stated, one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about today was not just technology and innovation, but talking a little bit about your people, your staff, your fans, our fans, and then understanding the challenges associated with that, the restrictions that, both locally and on the state level and then federally with respect to the COVID-19. Then we'll talk a little bit maybe about, how we can kind of work through those things with different types of strategies. I don't know, Ross, if we're going to just jump right into it or if you're going to go right into some questions, but maybe one piece of advice I would give to the group and to the audience out there is, despite these changes, when we all get excited about bringing people back to our venues, the one caution I'm going to give people is let's not assume that everybody's ready to come back. And so those are some of the questions that I want to address today, not just from the fans, but from our employees. Some great news coming around the pike with the potential vaccines that we're seeing at 90 and 95%, but how many of those folks are actually going to take those vaccines and when they're going to take it? And when does that mean we relax some of the things that we put in place to just get the stadium open for people to actually watch on TV? So Levi Stadium is a stadium right now that's not allowed to bring fans back to the stadium, but nonetheless, we had to look at creative ways to get the doors open just to host our football team and allow the broadcast to go on. Some of that started with, identifying different tiers of individuals and what each tier meant in terms of opening that facility. A tier one being, your athletes, your coaches, and the players and staff, and some way trying to figure out how to isolate those folks. And the technologies that we use, some are very integrative kind of approaches where you've got everybody's wearing a device and it can determine whether or not you're within 6 feet of each other, and it logs into that information, to just very simple static signage and other personnel that are trying to keep people isolated in those areas. I'll pause there, Ross, just to see if there's any other direction that you want to take it. But like I said, we got to make sure that you identify those tiers and those individuals and how you keep those separated from, say, employees and then ultimately fans.
No, I appreciate that. And in terms of what you were saying, so just to precise, you're talking about confidence, and we've touched on fan confidence in previous sessions today, but we haven't touched upon employer confidence, which is interesting.
Well, here, I will tell you, just from personal experience, let's not think that this is just our game day staff, right? This is not just the 3,000 or 3,500 people that you or we would typically employ on a game day. It could be, and in many cases it is, your full-time staff, right? So I've had a scenario where when we open the doors to get people into the building, just employees, those essential employees and broadcast teams and security personnel, some food and beverage personnel and alike. And we were able to get it down to a manageable number, say less of about 1,000 people still working that event, just to broadcast it and get everything going from, your video boards to locker room attendance and all that. The time we went from now considering moving into a scenario, which at one point in time in California, we were looking at potentially getting upwards of 10, 15, 20%, 25% into the building. Full-time staff started to hear rumblings that, look, I understand and I trust the fact that we got 1,000 people here in the building and we can manage those expectations and we can communicate to those folks and I trust all those folks. Well, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the 10 or 15 or 20 or 25,000 people that we are coming into the building that may or may not be following the rules as well as the 1,000 that you have in the building. So I say that because I don't want people out there to think that your game day employees are the only ones that are concerned here. It's your frontline team, your full-time staff that may be a little bit more hesitant to speak up. And so as leaders, I would expect you to reach out and communicate to them, to give them that voice to be able to understand their demeanor as we go through this unsettling times.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, they almost become frontline staff, on game day themselves. All right, if I can hand over to David. So David, if you could introduce yourself and also explain, what you're doing to sort of innovate your way through these various restrictions, that'd be great.
Sure. Thank you very much. Again, my name's David Eads. I'm the Executive Director and CEO with the Pasadena Tournament of Roses. You might not be familiar with our name, but you probably are familiar with our products. We produce the Rose Parade every New Year's Day that is globally broadcast to about 120 countries around the world. And then we also produce the Rose Bowl game, what we refer to as the granddaddy of them all, the first and original bowl game started back in 1902. So those are really the two major events that we do. The Rose Parade draws an audience of about 1 million people along the streets of Pasadena every year. We have a viewing audience of over 40 million just in the US and another 30 million around the world. When COVID hit back in March and we had already started planning obviously for an upcoming parade on January 1st, 2021, I think we all thought it was going to be a 2-week, 3-week inconvenience and we'd be back to normal. And obviously as the situation developed, we really had to step back as an organization and say, what's going to happen with our two major events? It became clearly evident, by April or May that large mass gathering events were not going to be allowed, especially California took a really hard line. And we had to then start developing plans for actually canceling the Rose Parade. The football game, the Rose Bowl game is a little bit different in that we're a CFP semifinal game this year. And the determinant on whether we'd be able to host a game or not was really going to be determined by outside factors, the CFP, our conference commissioners, university presidents on what they were doing with the football season. So I'll focus just a little bit on the Rose Parade. We did make a decision back in early July to cancel the parade. This would have been the 132nd edition of the parade. Has never been canceled before except during World War II, 75 years ago. So we came out of the gate early knowing that we need a 6 to 9 month ramp up to host the parade. And we had to quickly say, what's our most, our biggest imperative? And what that is for us is our 2-hour broadcast window. We are one of the few events in the United States that is carried by multiple broadcast partners. You can find the Rose Parade on ABC, NBC, the Hallmark Channel, Univision, RFD TV, and also locally in Southern California area on KTLA. And without a parade this year, we risk losing that time frame moving forward in the future, which would really imperil our sustainability. So our pivot then was, well, we're not going to be able to host a parade because of the mass gathering. What can we do? And that's where we came up with the concept of working with our broadcast partners to actually produce a television special, a 2-hour entertainment special. It would not be a retrospective of the Rose Parade. That would be kind of boring, but it would be in the spirit of the Rose Parade. So include what people expect to see on New Year's Day, these incredible floral floats, some amazing musical performances, some band performances that are tradition to our parade, and even some equestrian units. And what we were able to negotiate with our broadcast partners is that we would produce a show in about what we thought were going to be 12 separate segments. And then our broadcast partners could put those in any order they want. So they could create their own show with the content that we provided to them. And we would also give them time breaks where they could have their hosts. So for an example, NBC usually has Al Roker and Hoda Kotb doing their parade broadcast. There would be points for them to do, host comments. So the show could really be tailored to each network, because ABC is not going to show the same show that NBC is going to show. They want to show something different. And so by giving them flexibility, we were able to convince them that we would provide them with an entertainment special for January 1st that would meet their broadcast standards and that they would be willing to show. So that was kind of our major pivot, recognizing that our tradition of 132 years was not going to occur this year. We were going to have to work within COVID guidelines. There would be no mass gatherings. And when the state of California did lay out its guidelines to resume film and television production, that then opened the door for us to say we could move forward in putting together a television special. We're in the midst of it now. In fact, I've got shooting going on this Thursday. We were filming last week in several locations across the country. It really will be a national broadcast. And there's been challenges, don't get me wrong. The COVID challenges, when a cameraman shows up the day of the shoot and has to do an on-site test and all of a sudden test positive, we then have to scramble to make up for that and bring in other personnel. So it has been very difficult, a lot of rescheduling due to COVID, but we feel good that we will get this put together and distributed out to our broadcast partners by the 1st of December. And the world will be able to view it on January 1st. And so we've never done this before. We've never done a television special, but we knew how important it was to keep our broadcast window for our future. And that was the major pivot that we were able to make this year, working collaborative with our broadcast partners to bring this thing to life.
Yeah, we wish you good luck with that. Before I come back to that, let me move over to Tryson, John. Tryson, can you introduce yourself and tell us about the innovations that you're taking on?
Yeah, sure. And thank you guys for having me. My name's Tryson. I am the head of marketing and strategy at Joe Louis Company. So we, as a company, have been in business for about 20 years, founded by Joe Louis, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but he, comes from the sports entertainment production world, produced the NFL experience for over a decade, is one of the associate producers for the Oscar red carpet, the Academy Awards red carpet every year. And so, we are very well versed in, bringing to life broadcast experiences for fans and really serving our clients. We exist as an entertainment event production company. So we are a partner to help with everything from creative ideation to execution, logistics, et cetera. We have a 50,000 square foot warehouse in Southern California from which we can fabricate, print. We have our own logistics, warehousing, trucking, et cetera. So all to say, we have this kind of in-house kind of set of resources that allow us to be really nimble and serve our clients as they need. So COVID has come, as we all know, and as a response, there were a few things that we did. First, we went from having 200-300 events a year to no events, and so that gave us a unique opportunity to pause and have some time. And we took that time to kind of lean in creatively and work with our clients to develop some out-of-the-box solutions for them. March, April was a very kind of uncertain time for all of us, I know, and May as well, right? And so we started looking at the playbook, looking at the way we connected and what was possible in a safe way. And we developed some pretty innovative solutions that you'll see rolled out in the next kind of weeks and months for some of our clients. And so I think just being collaborative in that process was one thing we did. And also, very importantly, our company is one of 5 that were part of a consortium called Entertainment Industry Response, EIR for short, that has kind of spun up starting in March to serve the needs of the entertainment industry. we all kind of bring our respective experience from live event production, logistics, operations, et cetera, in the entertainment space, and have been leveraging that to help productions and events get back to work. So the example that Jim had of folks of opening up the stadium and needing to do testing, right? We have stepped in to help stadiums, venues, and content productions like David's work on getting back to work while maintaining, the best COVID practices as they change. So EIR really has been the team that has kind of dug in to understand and become experts and partner with the experts in the health and safety space to best serve our clients, as well as any needs that come up as we all pivot and kind of move and figure out ways to continue to create products and innovate for our fans. So those are two things. We also have been leaning into the virtual space and finding solutions in that space that can replace some of the kind of the needs on site. So one example of that is virtual fly-throughs of venues and environments that can help our clients and sponsors visualize the spaces that they're in and allow them to make decisions remotely. So whereas before a team had to all fly out to a venue to look and see it, to be fair, nothing can actually replace that, but we're excited to work on some solutions that can help kind of allow them to start to make those decisions. So
yeah, that's a nice that gives me a nice segue opportunity, Tryson. The previous session that I was facilitating, they were really emphasizing the need to really be imaginative and demonstrate leadership in that, to not just sort of try to get away with redesigning the old normal, but to really figure out what's going to work in the future. Step forward, the leadership point that you mentioned prior to this. How important is that, for us going forward? And how important is leadership showing us the way forward?
I guess I can jump in to start. I think it's imperative, right? So I think there is, we've all had to learn to be more flexible, right? And pivot is the new buzzword, I think, of 2020, right?
Yeah.
It's replace synergy, right? So, I think from the top down, organizations need to see that flexibility, that ability to pivot. I think there is a need to embrace discomfort, embrace ambiguity, and not knowing the answers, and being able to communicate that out and lead from the front in that regard, saying, we don't know what's going to come next. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know that we are resilient. We know that we are skilled and we are problem solvers, right? And that we are able to kind of rise to any challenge and find solutions that work for all parties involved, right? So I think leaders, it's imperative to be transparent in that process and communicate that out clearly and consistently for teams in order to kind of give them the space and the freedom to know that they're pivoting collectively. And then also, I think just also realizing that good ideas can come from anywhere, right? So I sit as the head of marketing and strategy, and a lot of the creative kind of innovation we've done for our clients kind of starts and ends with me, but ideas come from any single person in the organization, and I think being open and receptive to hearing good ideas and being able to empower people to run with them ultimately helps everyone involved again.
Yeah, I think we've seen an increase in collaboration within organizations and between organizations. David, over to you on the same point of leadership, if I may, and then we'll move on to some technology.
Sure. In my organization, we're a volunteer organization, so we have 935 volunteers. And when we made the decision to cancel, I really, leadership was needed to bring that group along, because there were a lot of people that didn't want to cancel the parade. They wanted to hold out on hope that we would be able to host the parade on January 1st. What they didn't understand that was every month we were delaying was going to cost us millions of dollars. So from my perspective, I'm looking at, what are the odds that we're going to be able to host a parade? We needed to get really good intelligence from the, from the healthcare community. So we did commission a study through the USC Keck School of Medicine to give us an opinion on whether California would be in stage 4 reopening on January 1st. And the study came back overwhelmingly that we would not, that California would still be in a lockdown. And you know, it was a hard decision for them to accept, but it was the right decision. And I had to kind of line up those players, put together that study, really drive past the emotion, because this isn't a very emotional thing for my volunteers. I've got people that have been volunteering for this parade for 20, 30, 40 years. And for them not to be able to experience that on New Year's Day, we're still going to see how that goes, right? I mean, and it's a huge economic impact for the Southern California economy, over $350 million annually. You know, all of that was going to be lost. So it was really presenting a vision. As Tyson said, you know, you got to be transparent and open. We didn't have all the answers. Even today, we don't have all the answers. We don't know what's happening with COVID from day to day. But I think it is setting that vision of our goal was to retain that 2-hour time frame of broadcast window. This is how we can do it. And we need to move forward. And we were able to get there. We were able to bring everybody along and make the right decision at the right time.
And Jim, what about yourself in terms of leadership?
Well, I think Trayson hit it, but actually both David and Trayson hit it on the head. But I don't subscribe to the notion that the leader is the guy or gal that has the executive VP title or general manager or head of something. I think leadership actually starts and begins with staff, and how you engage those individuals, giving them a platform, a voice, the support that they need to ultimately feel comfortable, ultimately feel as if they are and do have a seat at the table is important. And I think that's why you see in good organizations, many people kind of take that next step. You know, I've been very fortunate in my career to be with the 49ers, you know, for over 27 years now. That's not normal in the scope of things nowadays, where you see a lot more time and people are moving on to different jobs every 2 or 3 years. And there's different reasons for that. But I think as leaders or as executives in the chair at the moment, we got to do all we can to support folks so that they do become the leaders of today and tomorrow. So I think what these two gentlemen both said is spot on, and it's for conferences like this that I love to be a part of it, to be able to have like-minded individuals like that share that kind of mindset, because I think it's important in this industry to develop the leaders of tomorrow today. And so what we're doing at the 49ers and at Levi Stadium is no different. I will tell you, we looked, if I can transition into some of the technology, Ross, that you were going to talk a little bit about.
Yes, please.
We're always trying to be at the forefront of that, not for the sake of being able to hold up the flag and say how great we are, because I think we made that mistake early when we wanted to be everything to everybody and choose every latest, greatest piece of technology there is. We got to have it. We changed that mindset pretty early on when we started to realize that, and no disrespect to salesmen and women, but there's the snake oil salesmen that are out there always wanting to sell you their next solution to a problem that may not even exist in some cases, right? Or they're manufacturing a problem because they've got to find a solution for it. So we've become very selective, and I would encourage those that are on the call to use conferences like this with IIFX to help mitigate some of your choices as you're looking at technology as a potential solution for your issues. But don't just get caught up in technology, right? It's you got to look at, again, your people. I think you got to look at your processes, which has been the biggest change for us. When Trayson and David talked a little bit about being nimble or flexible, that's got to be the word of the year, because it is without a doubt the most difficult time of managing in my 27 years of being able to flip on a dime. And in some cases, these are very, very complicated operations. And to be able to
Hello, Jim. Have we lost Jim, or is it just me?
I think we've lost him. He looks like he's locked up.
Tryson, are you there?
I'm still here. Yes.
Okay.
You
Well,
can't hear me there.
with the both of you, you hit on a small technology innovation in terms of the use of drones. Can you speak to any others that you've employed?
Is that for me?
That's for you, Tryson. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the timing is pretty interesting on this. JLC has added a hologram division, and this happened before COVID began. Actually, this was
Interesting.
we started these talks December, January of last year, right? So, or January of this year. So, we have a very innovative solution that has a portable hologram that allows someone to beam remotely. So instead of a Zoom conference, they can beam their whole kind of physical presence into a location remotely in real time. And that's called Portal. So we're really excited about that. And we have one of 2 portals in the world at our facility here in Southern California. So listen, that's Jim was mentioning, technology, and sometimes there's technology for the sake of technology. I do believe that technology is a tool ultimately to help kind of facilitate an end goal, right? And so this becomes a solution for a range of different topics, so in live events, so when folks are coming together, instead of traveling to come to a conference, right? You can have a portal on the stage and have someone beam in. We've seen examples with holograms of folks being able to, if everyone's on a panel and are all seated in a chair, you can have that person calling in remotely with that chair as well, to just kind of create a look of consistency. For a lot of our clients who work in the film industry, virtual press junkets and these kinds of things, right? Instead of being on a Zoom call, you can have a press junket in a real physical space and have artist X, right, the head of the star of a film, beamed into these locations remotely across the world, right? So whereas press junkets would have taken a week, now that person can connect to a portal device, in New York and LA and London and Tokyo, and do that whole tour in a day. And press outlets can come and be physically there and ask questions. The device has a built-in camera and speakers that allows users on each side to see and hear and interact with each other. So my sales pitch is over, but I'll say this: I think it's really exciting. It's a 4K display. It looks brilliant. It works well outside and inside, and so we're really excited about that as a solution, and have been talking to our clients and partners about how to incorporate that for their various needs. So that's one piece, again, that just happened to come up before COVID, but has become a lot more relevant there. And then also in all of the live television production. So we recently did a show for iHeart Music Festival, where we beamed Kane Brown in from Nashville onto a sound stage in Los Angeles for performance with 2 other artists, Khalid and Sway Lee. And so possibilities are endless, but we're really excited about that one.
Yeah, that does sound exciting. Promise me one thing: let's not talk too much about Lou Marciani about this new opportunity. Okay, David, have you got anything on the technology front that you'd like to add before I go back to Jim to pick up where he left off?
Sure. Ours is a little more basic, I would say, but that the touchless ticketing has become a big thing for us. On both the game and the parade side, our tradition is these beautiful souvenir tickets that everybody wants to hold and keep. But as we move forward, we've just got to innovate much more. Again, for security reasons, for a lot of different reasons, we've got to know who is in our crowd and who they are. So the touchless ticketing has become very important. With the parade itself, we've been doing some experimenting with virtual reality. Again, that on a float that has fish going over a gate, all of a sudden using VR technology, you can see it explode and other things happen that captures obviously the imagination of somebody that's participating in that. So we've over the past 2 parades, we've been implementing some VR technology within the parade itself. Again, 360 zoom cameras where you can do a quick around a float and see all the different elements and aspects of it. The opportunity, again, using technology that you are actually a float driver. You're sitting in that float and you're seeing what that driver is seeing. So again, you're part of the parade. You're not just outside watching it, but you're inside of the parade. So we are trying to look at what those technologies are that can really improve that customer experience around the parade. How our customers can be more integral in being a part of what it is. So it's not just something passive on the street, but it's something that I can be a part of. And we're going to continue to explore that. But as Jim mentioned, there's lots of technology out there that people are going to try and sell you, and it's expensive. And I think you really have to take a close look of, what is your end goal with using technology, and how does it improve that customer experience? And if it doesn't, if it's using technology for technology's sake, you might be just spending a lot of money. But we're trying to do it to improve our customer experience.
Yeah. Jim, welcome back. Sorry, we had a technology fail there.
But that's a perfect example of having to react on the fly. So I assume you did great.
We did. I think we recovered all right. But I was more worried that we were going to miss some of your vital points at the end there. Would you like to finish off?
Well, I guess where I was going to lead off is, and Dave kind of just talked a little bit about it. It's not just about, technology that can improve, your fan experience, but ultimately your overall operation as well, right? And so in some cases, one of the companies I was going to talk about was R0, which is it's taking an older technology that's used in hospitals, for example, to deal with this COVID-19 issue. And though it is kind of on the back end of a process, essentially what it is using UV light to be able to sanitize a room, right? And so what we started to look at, and with the help of Lou and team, is the entire process and the entire flow. So on the front end, are we looking at some point in time, like you see, the Golden State Warriors kind of talked about potentially having to test people when they come into an event now. Well, what happens after that? And so what's the next step as you go through your security procedures and your guest ticket scanning and all that stuff, and how Ticketmaster is going to potentially align with that? Well, what I looked at is what I want our customers and our staff to know is that we are doing everything we can to sanitize, clean, and make sure that place is safe. So if we're going through that,
We've lost him again.
I think so.
Sorry about this. Let me open this up to the participants. We've got a couple of questions that have come in. Okay. So to David Tryson, feel free to jump in on any of these. I think you can see this question, but I'll read it out for everybody. Has this experience given you all a new perspective on customer interaction? That's an important question. David, I think you touched upon this. It goes on to say, do you feel like this has made your industries build a better relationship with the fans? So we've got customers and fans here.
Yeah, I was going to say, from our perspective, it's definitely strengthened our relationship. One, we had to make sure that we communicated our message on the cancellation of the parade correctly. Again, you can't imagine the number of people out there that have watched this event for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and how dare you cancel it? It's my parade. And that's what's really interesting about it. It's not the Tournament of Roses parade. Everybody individually seems to own this parade. So how we communicated that message and the reasoning we gave behind it, we had to be really clear that people understood that obviously the public safety of our participants and of the general public and coming to watch the event had to be our top priority. And everything else had to be, subordinate to that. And so I think, for us, our fans, we did an announcement on the television special, I want to say about a month ago, and again, got a huge outpouring of people saying, thank you for still giving us what we need on New Year's Day. It's been a really hard year. It's been an extremely tough year for people. And January 1st is that day of kind of new beginnings and new hope. And they felt like they were going to be left hanging if the events that we typically do that really bring in the new year with that sense of joy and hope was going to be gone. And so it has brought us closer to our fans. We have to listen to them, hear what they're saying, and continue to build a program that really addresses their needs.
Yeah, and I'll say just to add, I think where we sit is we connect to fans through our clients, right? And so one thing we've been doing as we've been communicating out some of the kind of solutions or event socially distanced event solutions is one, the practical safety on the ground, right? That EIR and all of the work our team is doing there helps to check that box. But there's also the perceived safety of fans and customers kind of gathering together. And there's certain things that like them seeing surfaces get sanitized, right? Them seeing kind of individuals wearing PPE and maintaining physical distance, et cetera. Those are things that subtly, psychologically instill a confidence that that the producers of the event and the brands ultimately that are connecting with their fans and consumers are doing all that they can on their end to ensure their safety as they're starting to gather together. That is in addition to signage, et cetera, that exist for these kind of in-person events. So those are things and best practices that we've been sharing out with our clients that they've been using as we produce events for fans and customers.
No, that's great. And there's another one coming for you, David. Due to the recent cancellation of CFB games, is it possible that there will not be a Rose Bowl? If so, what is the procedure?
Yeah, right now we are planning for a Rose Bowl game. And I tell everybody, I'm not going to know if we actually are going to host a Rose Bowl game until January 1st at 2 p.m. It could be canceled at any time if, for whatever reason, again, with the COVID spread, that college football shuts down. Right now, all major 5 power conferences are playing. There's been a lot of cancellations in the last week or two. There's a hope again as universities move into Thanksgiving week and the student body goes home. Most of those student bodies will stay home for the month of December and January. And so that would only leave student athletes on campus, which again, you can build a better bubble and keep them safe. But there is the opportunity that the game could be canceled. It could be delayed. There's been discussion of maybe moving the semifinal and the final, the championship game back a week or two in the calendar. It's all up in the air to be determined right now. And again, the 2 words that I've used with my team and with my volunteers is patience and flexibility. We're going to plan for this game. We've got, multiple scenarios that we're planning for, but at the end of the day, the COVID is really in charge of what happens here. And hopefully we can keep student athletes safe, that we can complete a football season, and that we can have our regular bowls and championship series as planned. But it's still to be determined, I think.
Yeah, very well said. I'd like to welcome back once again, Jim.
Sorry, guys, I've gone to the mobile now to see if the mobile phone will stick with us.
So yeah, we haven't got too long left in this session. I'm going to encourage participants to send any last questions in. But Jim, I think you need an opportunity to finish off your points.
Well, listen, again, it's hard to see where I've left off, but I will tell you this. I do see there's an importance not just to focus on technology, but to focus on technology that can improve the experience of the fan, but also your operation. And in this case, with R0 that I was talking about,
yeah,
it also it speaks to the theater side of what we have to do as operators, right? It's important to not only be safe, but to show people that you're doing things to make it safe. And so I think that's important with the technology. And last, I would say, if you can still hear me, which I hope you can.
Yes, we can.
Great. Is the communication piece, befriend your media in such a way that you can help tell the story that you need to tell. And that story needs to be as definitive and descriptive as possible, talking about all the things that you're doing in your venue or in your operation that is aimed towards ensuring or better ensuring the safety and security of your fans, your customers, your employees, your principals, things of that nature. That very much matters. And so how you communicate, when you communicate, the forms of which you communicate are all important. So one of the things that we looked at doing is when we are ready to bring back fans, there'll be a video that will come from me or others that will talk a little bit about the process by which you will have to follow to come back through the game. Because you got to remember, it's going to be over, it's almost a year now that some cases, all of your staff have come to the facility. So you got to tell them almost much like you did when you first opened up your building, or much like you did for the first time when you opened up a season, is you're talking to them about all the different things that you have to go through in order just to get into the facility. It's not just parking your car and walking through a magnetometer anymore. It is park your car, make sure you're socially distanced, make sure you're wearing your mask. Here's what you're going to look at when you see, did you take and answer the CDC questions that talk about your health and safety? Did you log in appropriately to get your cred right? Here's the access point that you must follow when you're coming into the facility. So all of those types of things and the technology you're using helps you define. That's why I think Levi Stadium has been so fortunate, is that we took that into consideration in our design elements 5-7 years ago, about how we felt things were going to be. We didn't, by no means did we think there'd be a pandemic here, but we did when we first opened the stadium with one of the first stadiums to open up with magnetometers for all facilities. And so we looked at that as being kind of a cutting edge. The next stadium that's being opened now should be thinking what's going to happen in 5 years from now. So some of the things I still see that'll exist after COVID, I don't see us going away from temperature scanning, to be candid with you. I don't see us moving away from the strict adherence to issuing less all access credentials. I see us being more strict with the access to players and coaches and staff, unless you really need to be there for a number of reasons. And lastly, I'll say, I hope that the collaboration still remains between the medical side of things, the legal side of things, the operational side, as well it does with our communication and marketing teams.
Yeah, there's a great question, which I don't want to let go here, from Cecilia. Your events have strong cultural heritage implications. How do you see in the long game, and this was going to relate to a question about the future that I had, how to sustain and improve that? I'm going to put that out there. David, have you got?
Yeah, I think what Jim just said, there's going to be a new era after COVID, but that doesn't mean we go back to where we were. I think there's going to be a new baseline that we're all going to have to operate from. We've talked about this. Just because a venue is open or just because I hold a parade, that doesn't mean people feel safe and they're going to show up and they're going to watch it, right? So to be sustainable in the future, we've got to build back in that confidence that we are providing a safe environment for all of our fans and attendees. Again, for us, we've got to continue to innovate on what we're doing to increase the entertainment value of what we're doing. A float from 20 years ago doesn't compare to a float that we do today. It just doesn't. Now you've got all these moving parts and virtual reality aspects of it. But if you think about how the media and all the different platforms for viewing content have changed how we view, a static float going down the street's pretty boring. It might be beautiful, but it's boring. And so for us to remain sustainable is we've got to incorporate these new technologies. We've got to keep what we do fresh, but we also have to do it in an environment where people feel safe and that they will show up, they will come out. Because, to get up at 6 a.m. on New Year's morning to sit in the cold in Pasadena at 8 o'clock, you got to be motivated to do that. And so we have to provide that motivation. Or the same thing on our television broadcast, to turn on the TV on New Year's Day to watch our show. You've got to believe that you're going to be entertained and wowed. And that's going to be the key to our success, is to continue to innovate in that way to provide greater entertainment value in everything that we do around the parade, and also with the football game. I mean, there's great challenges with college football right now, and we just have to continue to put on the field the best game that we can in the best venue that we can. So it goes both ways, I think, on our major product lines.
Tristan, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say, I think I think that, for our clients, right? Our clients work on, big award shows like the Oscars and the Grammys, and these are, established in kind of the culture as well. As well as events like, Coachella and for the NFL, the draft and what have you. And so I think what we'll see and what we're seeing is a term that many listeners may know of called hybrid events. So I think we'll see post-COVID differing levels of comfortability in kind of coming back to a physical space, and that will take some time. But there is a really great opportunity. I think we've started to see, and we're going to continue to see how brands, how kind of entities are using virtual and kind of digital solutions to maybe not replicate, but create a unique experience, as David said as well, right? So there's certain things that we've done, and we've assumed that it's kind of like we've done them for so many years. Why not just keep going in that direction? But before COVID, even things were changing, and so I think this has sped up the process of embracing, and not just technology for the sake of technology, but technology that allows fans to engage in some new and unique ways. So the idea of the rose, afloat, that I can see in VR or AR or something, like that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that personally, right? And so I think it provides access, and access on a global scale, because the reality is physical events were always limited by geography, right? So embracing some of the virtual elements now allow fans who physically may not be able to come to that location to have some access to the brand and connect to it. So we're really excited about the potential of that as well as part of a holistic kind of event or kind of offering from a brand.
Absolutely. Look, there are a lot of takeaways from this panel discussion. I don't have time before we get kicked off to highlight them, except to say thank you, David, Tryson, Jim, really, for this outstanding discussion, for your perspective on how to capitalize on the COVID disruption to innovate a path to the future as the industry and fans prepare to return to work, play, and spectate. I'd like to speak to all of you on our podcast series so we can get more insights from you. Thanks again to Jack and our friends at Mash Gin, whose generous sponsorship made this presentation possible. And thank you all, the participants, for attending this session and for your excellent questions. Please take time to visit our sponsors and exhibitors at their booths in our exhibit area, and make sure to fill your digital swag bag with their offerings. You can also schedule meetings with the representatives of each sponsor at their booths. We invite each of you to join IIFX and other sports and entertainment fans and professionals as we build a path to return to work, play, and spectate. You can find more information on our website, iifx.org. Gentlemen, thanks very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the rest of the conference.